From the Oakland Hills to Jack London Square, from the Port to the Coliseum, this is Talk of the Town, an in-depth conversation about the people and issues important to Oakland.
Hello, I'm Dave Clark, and I am so glad that you're with us here on Talk of the Town. We talk about a lot of different things. We try to put a really good focus on things. Today, I'm very fortunate. I have two very special guests. With me, I have Bip Roberts, former Major League Baseball player and just an all-around great man as well, and I'll tell you why. And also Damon Cooke, another great man. And both of them are with an organization called the Uncuffed Project. You work and help turn around the lives of inmates, former inmates, and you do it in a unique way with a great spirit. And I thank you both for being here.
Well, thank you for having us. I think it's always a blessing when you can sit in front of a great man and explain your story and have the story come out correct as it has been presented and the facts are what they are.
Well, Bip, thank you for saying that. And Damon, I'm going to start with you. You're the CEO of the Uncuffed Project. First of all, what is the Uncuffed Project?
So the Uncuffed Project is a state of mind, first of all.
Interesting.
So we chose that name because I not only wanted to take the shackles off the individuals physically, but mentally. Mentally, there's a big crux in our society. When young men get out and young women get out of the institutions, they have a problem really releasing themselves from the bondage that they were in.
Interesting.
So we said, we're going to take those handcuffs off your mind in order for you to become a better human being.
It's an interesting story to attempt to do that. But you do it well. Bip, I'm going to get to your long career in sports and in church and with the Uncuffed Project. But I want to finish with Damon first. Where did this idea come from? Where did you come from to become a part of it?
Okay, so I'm also the co-founder of the Uncuffed Project. I was sitting in a cell in San Quentin. I did 31 years, 60 days inside the California Department of Corrections. And I was sitting in the cell, and if you look at the logo here, it's a picture of a keyhole and me envisioning myself walking out. And if the little man here, he still has a handcuff on, but it's halfway off. And so I said to myself that I am going to be the change in this society. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to look at people as they recidivate or come back to prison and ask the fundamental question, why did you come back? And I got a plethora of answers. And so what happened was when I talked to them about that, in the end, they told me basically they didn't have their basic needs met. And so there's when the light bulb moment went off for me. I said, I need to create an infrastructure where guys don't recidivate and don't come back to prison.
So you created it while you were in prison. Was it easy to do?
Absolutely not. It was difficult. Yeah, it was tough. It was rough. And I worked alongside the Bishop Perry, and then he retired, and his daughter picked up the mantle, Lisa Strong. And so what we did was we said, we're going to put some things together that give someone the basic essentials for the first 90 days. That's how we started.
Yeah.
So we're going to give you a backpack and a phone, and we're going to give you things that just get you stable in order for you to make a better decision or a better choice. And that's what happened. Then it all started to change when I met Bip Roberts.
You pick it up from there, Bip. How did you meet him? Or why do you think you met him and got involved with the project?
I think you almost said it, the word God. I think that was the major factor in this. You know, my road had been going from Major League Baseball successful to having some times where we're not so successful. And I think that was my road to Damascus, so to speak. I fell off the horse, my eyes were blinded, but then a couple of days later I could see again. And I think what happens is when I went to the Well Church under Pastor Napoleon Kaufman, I started to hear things and start learning things about myself and where I was in this walk.
Former football player.
A great just a great player, a great man as well, great teacher. And so with that, I just started getting into my spirituality. Things just started washing away that were in my life that no longer were there. And then I could start hearing the word of God again and said, oh wait. And as I stay still, I'm hearing things. And so a friend of mine was incarcerated with Damon. His name was Vincent Romes. And we had played Little League ball up together, played Babe Ruth ball together. We had been friends since we were 12 years old. And he told me about this program. And he said, I think you'd be good in this program because you've come back to Oakland to give back. And I know that you're out there and you're doing the right things. And I said, hey, you know what? Tell me about the program. And he started explaining to me the program. And I said, whoa, that's pretty deep. I like that. But you know what? Let me pray on this first.
Yeah.
Let me see if this is the way God
really
wants me to go.
What he wants you to do.
And so I started praying on this, and And I said, you know what, Vincent? Hey, you know what? Okay, I want to be involved some type of way, whatever. Okay, so I want you to meet Damon. I said, okay, all right, how am I going to meet Damon? Well, some kind of way we were able to hook up and communicate. And we started talking about the program. And I said, Damon, you know what? I think this is my calling. I think I want to help you as much as I can. And so we just built that relationship. We kept having conversation. And then, Damon, you can tell him how it all started to work out.
Well, he said, what happened was when I spoke to Bip, I said, Bip, I don't know if I'm ever going to get out because I was serving a life sentence. But I do know that this mission has to continue. And so he came to me and then we talked. And then he said, you know what? When God has found a replacement for you, then he is going to let you go. And I said, wow, that was heavy to take in at that moment.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, this is very serious. 2 weeks later, I was found suitable for parole.
What?
Wow. Yes, 2 weeks later. And then I called him and I said, Bip.
Hey, Bip.
They let me go. And he said, are you serious? Praise God. That's what happened.
What was your reaction, Bip?
My reaction was that if you allow God to lead the way, then he will start to open doors that no man can open.
Supernaturally.
And I just had that prophetic thought. It came to me. It's not like something I went and said, you know what, this is what's going to happen. No, it came to me, and I spoke it, and it came to fruition. And I was just sitting there, and I was stunned. But then I said to myself, you know, God can do anything.
Wow. All right. How long ago did you guys come together? How long?
It's been about what, maybe a year and a half?
Okay.
Well, so let's just put it in context.
Yeah, right.
I was released from prison a year and a half ago.
Okay.
So I've only been out 18 months, about 18 months. But before that, we had spoken probably 6 months on the phone prior to that.
Yeah, okay.
So a couple years.
Okay.
The Uncuffed has been in existence for 5 years.
Yeah.
But this was a real crux. This was the serious part of our relationship. It happened right at the last end of it, right at the last mile.
At the right time.
The right time, right.
Let's uncover more about Bip Roberts, a great athlete. How many pro baseball teams did you play on?
Sometimes I lose count. But I believe it was 6 because I went back to the Padres after being traded from the Padres.
Okay.
Went to Cincinnati.
So San Diego Padres.
San Diego, Cincinnati, San Diego, Kansas City, Cleveland, Detroit, and then I finally got back home with the
Oakland A's.
Yeah.
So this is home. Oakland is home for you.
Oakland is home. Yeah.
Wow.
I never thought, and see, again, I always go back to how God has his ways. When I was living in San Diego, I was there almost 20 years, raised my kids there and everything, and thought, this is where I'm going to end up. I'm going to be here for the rest of my life. And then as things happen, you know, you have a sickness in the family,
right,
or you have some family members that need you to get closer. I sold my house in San Diego and moved to Oakland, and I never thought I was coming back. And now, when I look at it, 18, 20 years later, I meet this young man, Damon Cooke, and it's like this was supposed to happen. And now I feel as though I was supposed to come back to my community and help the kids in Oakland, men, women, coached at Skyline High, taught a lot of kids how to take the next step and go to college. And a lot of those are my little nephews now. And so it was meant to be.
It was meant to be.
It was meant to be.
And you had to come and meet me.
I had to come.
I had to find you. And we ended up meeting at the Lend a Hand Foundation dinner and gala.
Sure did.
And I've never forgot that.
Sure did.
The time that we talked.
Yeah.
How has he changed your life?
Well, he's changed my life in just his vigor, his energy, his caring. Because a lot of guys would get out of his situation and just going about their own business and become selfish and thinking, hey, you know what, I missed a lot of time. I need to go and live my life.
Yeah.
Well, he got out thinking about others. And I was like, wow, that's right up my alley. Wait, he's thinking about others before he's thinking about himself.
Yeah.
He's thinking about the marginalized. He's thinking about the homeless. He's thinking about how can I help them get back on their feet. And I've always been that type of guy myself. And I said, you know what, I'm going to be the leadoff guy, and this is going to be the fourth hitter. Because this guy drives and runs.
Yeah. He brings them in.
He brings them in.
Wow. So where did that, we know what you went through, but where does that part, where did that start? As a kid or?
Yeah, I think that my intestinal fortitude was forged when I was a kid. You know, I had a grandfather who had a
Growing up in L.A.?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he had a great work ethic. He demonstrated what it was to be a man and how to act, right? And then I fell into the cracks of bad decisions. And so I always reflected upon my grandfather and what he would want, and my grandmother, what they would want from me, right? And so that started to resonate with me more as I got older. And then I said, you know what, I'm gonna honor them by doing what they asked me to do when I was a little guy. Yeah. And so now coming back, it's just natural for me to want to help because they helped so many in my community growing up.
Wow.
So go ahead.
Let's put some meat on the Uncuffed Project. So you're dealing with people who've been behind bars, who may not have a skill when they get out, may not have anybody they trust, don't know how to get started, and here you come with the Uncuffed. How do you approach inmates, former inmates? How do you begin the conversation to get them to trust you?
You want to answer that?
Well, I think the first thing they have when they meet Damon is trust.
Yeah.
Because Damon has been there. And so they understand, here's a guy that's been there, and now that he's out, he's come back to help us. And so with that, I think they start to open up and say, okay, I can really trust this guy, and I can speak to him in ways that I couldn't speak to others. Yeah. And then when they get out, you see Damon at the gate, ready to give them transportation where they need to go.
Yeah.
So that's when they start to understand this is real. Because a lot of guys are in there and they're believing what is being said is not really the truth. Yeah. And then they hear about the Uncuffed while they're still incarcerated. And then when they get out and they get to those gates, and the Uncuffed Project is right there waiting for them. And then that's when they go. A lot of these guys who've been strong and they've held it in, and they start to cry. See. Yeah, the emotion starts to come out.
Wow. And how do you deal with their families?
Well, I think for me, because I was in that situation, and I told them when I was leaving, I will be back for you, right? Don't think that I'm gonna leave you or abandon you because of all the things I've been doing. So the first thing we like to do is we like to have family reunification. So we talk to the mothers, we talk to the wives, we talk to the girlfriends and the daughters. It's just really important because there's a lot of stressors that are unforeseen to a person that's coming home. And so we talk to them about that and what that looks like, right? Because what they left 10, 20, 30 years ago is not the same. Yeah. So you have to be prepared. And so that bridge that we create is allowing them to get back into society gracefully and with dignity without feeling the pressures of I have to be the man again in the house. There's a dynamic that takes place. Yeah. So the woman has taken on the place of the man and he's been gone. So a lot of times what we want to do is tell her, okay, we understand the place and now we want to try to bring you guys back together so the imbalance is not there anymore. Yeah. So that's what we do. So we work on inside out. When I say inside out, I mean inside internally, yeah. We need that internal thing to change in the man so he doesn't come back domineering. He doesn't come back with, some of the things, the male toxicity that happens when you've been incarcerated. That's what we do.
So do you have to break a man sometime, a guy who doesn't want to change, break them emotionally so they can be teachable? Do you have to?
Well, I think what happens is, see, we have 2 houses right now, transition houses.
Okay, I was going to ask you about that.
And so we bring those guys in, and once we bring them in, now we start to have relation with them as far as a relationship where we're going to sit there, we're going to eat with you. We're going to talk and see where you are at this moment. We're going to see what your goals are. We're going to see what your skills are. We're going to let you know what we have in our program that can offer you the things that you need in order to have a solid foundation. And I think once they start to hear that, and then sometimes a phone call will come in and they're ear hustling and they can hear that phone call is going to take care of them. And then I would look at them and just kind of glance out and they're like, wow, I really can't believe this is happening. Yeah. And so I think that's when they're able to start to relax a little bit and say, you know what, we're in good hands here with the Uncuffed. Not only do we have Damon, but he has a team around him that is thinking about us and how they can make us better people.
That is so good to hear. I was going to ask you, it's good to hear about the transition homes, because I was going to ask you, do you allow them to go back to where they were, same neighborhood, same home? same environment before they became incarcerated? Is there any restriction on that?
Well, what we do is we take a holistic approach,
Yeah.
right? So I explain to them, I say this: when you get out, the things that you really are used to or accustomed to, they're not there anymore. And you need to make the transition in a way that suits you, but it also suits us. So we're going to put you in like a step down program.
Yeah.
We're really going to ease you back into society in a way where it's kind of like a soft or warm handoff. So when you go see your mother and your girlfriend and your sister, they're able to receive you and you're able to receive them. Remember, this has been this is trauma, a traumatic event that has occurred. So when that occurred, now we're trying to unpack the trauma in a way that's healthy for everyone involved. So we really, really take a serious look at how we take the holistic approach. We don't just do that on a whim. We really look at each individual. And if you have family problems or you have a situation where you want your kids, we help you with that as well. We try to bring everyone involved so everyone is at the table that understands what the stakes are, right? And at the end, we don't want you to recidivate.
And again, we're talking about a program called the Uncuffed Project. You're good and you're blessed. I can see the blessing. I mean, I can see the blessing on both of you and on the Uncuffed Project. And there's a backpack that's given. Tell me about the backpack and what other resources you give to whoever the inmate. Did you work with women as well?
We do.
You do?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Talk about some of the physical things you give.
Well, a lot of those backpacks, they have everything that you need in order to sustain life. It may be food in there may be clothes, there may be sneakers, there may be underwear, there may be a cell phone, there's going to be gift cards. And so it's everything you need for those first 90 days. Because when they get out, most of the guys are getting, $200 or something like that. And then that's going to, first thing they want to do is go get a hamburger from somewhere, and now they spend a little bit of money. And now you may have to catch a cab to get where your destination is.
You're
now
starting over.
You're starting over, and so that money, it dissipates really quickly. So what we do is make sure that they don't have to go to the store. They don't have to spend any money. They don't have to worry about a ride. They don't have to worry about food because we're going to feed them as well. So everything that they need in order to get started is right there in these backpacks. And these backpacks are not little. They're some pretty big backpacks. And I like to see the reaction of the formerly incarcerated young man or the young lady who gets out. And it's just, it's a look on their face where they're going, it's unbelievable, but they're so thankful. And you can see the spirit change within them. Whatever was inside those walls is no longer when they get out.
Must make you feel good to be a part of that.
It really does. It really does, because I've always been a ultra competitive person. And I always had a disposition of, I'm going to get mine, stay out of my way. Whatever it takes, I'm going to succeed. But I think my road, as I said earlier, to Damascus, as I was on that road
to Damascus,
I was knocked off that horse, and my spirit changed in a lot of ways. It was no longer being that ultra-aggressive guy. It was being more of a reserved type person who now listens and can hear and discern your spirit and understand where you are.
You're a vessel being used.
Amen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damon, talk about what you want to still see happen. What do you envision down the road? I'm going to congratulate you on credit because I know it's going to happen. But what do you want to see happen, and who's helping the Uncuffed Project? Who's helping you now?
Okay, so I'll start with what I want to see happen. I would like to see more community awareness of what really is happening. 70% of the unhoused are formerly incarcerated. That's a big number. And so when Bip and I go to these encampments, we really have a conversation about knowing what happens. There's so many dynamics in the unhoused. There's a mental health component. There's a fear component. There's maybe borderline schizophrenia. Because what happens is when you don't get the necessary things you need initially, you start to spiral out of control. And we see this happen within 45 days. So that's why it is absolutely crucial that we meet you at the gate. It's absolutely crucial that we give you because we want you to be on a stable environment. We don't want you to recidivate or spiral down into that road where you can't come back. So there's a lot going on with that. And so the people that have reached out to us, like district attorneys in Alameda County, particularly Raymond Landry, he has really been instrumental in helping us understand the other aspect of it. You know, imagine being convicted in Oakland, in my case, and now walking through the front door and talking to the same district attorney's office that convicted me, right? We come full circle. Wow. Now we're having a conversation about what it looks like on the other end. And that's a big deal for us to have that support from the community. But we're always looking for other people to get involved. There's a lot of people that say they want to help the unhoused, but we really want them to put their money where their mouth is.
And let me add to that.
Go ahead, Bill.
When you say the word credit, we've been working on a shoestring budget.
I know.
We don't have a whole lot of money. We just been doing it based on the grace of God and giving us the ability to make sure that these guys and gals are housed. But we've done a lot of work behind the scenes where we try to get funding. We try to get people to donate. We try to get certain things when it comes to funding to help so that we can continue to move forward. And a lot of times, once the process has been begun, we see the goalposts. At the end of the process, the goalpost has moved. And so now the things that we're trying to apply for have been moved over to the right side, and we submit, and then now we can't get to that because somewhere along the line, the system changed. And so we're not able to get those fundings or get that money that we need in order to house more. Because not yet. Well, not yet. Not yet. But at some point in time, I know that we're going to have that window in heaven open, and we're going to be poured out a blessing.
Don't start anything, Bip.
Come on now.
Come on. You know, we're going to wind down, but I do want to ask, do you think Governor Newsom knows about the Uncuffed Project and what it is you're doing? I would think he would want to know if he doesn't.
Well, I know that Dave Clark has some pull, and maybe he can get to a Gavin Newsom.
One never knows. One never knows, but we have to think in those terms.
Amen. Come on, that's how I think.
The value of what the Uncuffed Project is and will be and what it is that you do, I would think major figures would want to know about this. And we need to get it on TV, as we're doing now, and do even more. So, Bip, what do you see? What do you see as we get ready to say goodbye? What do you see for the future and Bip Roberts' involvement?
Well, I just see that at some point in time, we're going to have a flux of people come out of prison knowing that they have somewhere to go, where it's going to change their lives, and they're going to get back to being whole again and not being looked at as someone who made a mistake. They're going to be now looked at as someone who has changed their lives. They're going to become an example of what others can become. And that's kind of what I see. With them being that example, they're going to shine a light on how dark things were, but how you can get to the light.
You know, I'm listening to you both, and one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you, I had an uncle that spent most of his life in jail, in and out, and was never really able, even once he got out, to turn his character and his life around. But he was still a part of my family. I wish he had had the Uncuffed Project, access to it. So just know that even when you don't see me, I'll be cheerleading for the both of you and the Uncuffed Project. And if no one said thank you to you, I'm saying it.
Thank you, Dave.
We thank you.
Just know this, too. Also, there are so many people that are just like you that are hiding in the shadows that really don't want to talk about their family members. And because we have a partnership with Google, some of these things that we can do to help curtail the recidivism rate, we can educate. We can put you in a position to uplift your life. We can change your life because we have the tools to give them to you. So that's a big deal. And so someone like you, the uncle, the cousin, who says, hey, I know my uncle, he could have made a better decision. We welcome that. Don't feel embarrassed to contact us if you have a family member, because we want to help them.
So let's talk about, how does anyone watching us now contact or find out more about Uncuffed Project?
So you can reach us at theuncuffedproject.org. There is an application online. You can do that. You can reach out. We're on all social media platforms, Uncuffed Project, Instagram, everything, every platform, Facebook. So any one of these ways you can reach out to us and say, hey, I'm in distress, I need help, and there's a mechanism in place already. So as soon as you say, hey, I have a situation, immediately you will receive a phone call within 24 hours.
And you have great representation online. Very impressive. I love it, and you're going to do great things. Bip Roberts, Damon Cooke of the Uncuffed Project, thank you for making time for us. It's good to see you. And like I said, I'm congratulating you on credit for the great things you're going to do. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate you.
And I thank you for being with us. We'll see you next time on Talk of the Town.